Hi everyone, it's me here, and in today's video, I want to talk about what could be in the third Sonic the Hedgehog movie, like what my thoughts are on it. I have watched both Sonic 1 and 2, and I enjoy both the films and everything, and I'm actually very curious on how they're going to do the third Sonic the Hedgehog film. Now, before we get into the subject and all that, I want to just say that I had no prior knowledge on Sonic whatsoever at the time of me watching those movies and everything. I mean, I played a Sonic game or something before watching the movies and stuff, though it was not a main series game and everything. So I technically didn't get into Sonic the Hedgehog until 2022, around the time the second movie came out. And I don't want to consider myself an over the top Sonic fan. I could say I like Sonic in that I'm probably a semi fan, I guess. But I don't want to say that I'm overly obsessed with it, but I do like it. So after I got all that out of the way, let's talk about the movies. So I watched the first movie first, and then the second movie second, which is something natural. But the reason I didn't end up going to see Sonic 2 in theaters was because I thought I had to watch the first movie to understand how it goes. Now, you could totally watch the second movie without having to watch the first. I know I know a friend who ended up watching the second movie without watching the first movie, and I guess you could basically get away with not having to do it. And I regret not going to the theaters to watch Sonic 2, but I'll talk about why I regret that later. But yeah, I ended up watching the first movie off of Prime Video, and then I watched the second movie when it came out on DVD. So this was around August of 2022, so about a year ago and everything. It's hard to believe that Sonic 2 is a year old now. But anyways, the first movie was pretty good. The second movie, sorry if I'm stuttering, the second movie definitely outdid the first and everything, which was kind of inevitable. But with people who talk about this movie, they could definitely say that the second one's better than the first. There really isn't a case where the first one would be better, unless it's with some movie series. But when it comes to this series, it's one could outdo the other, which is what I think what would probably happen with Sonic 3. So I want to talk about a brief synopsis of the first film, then the second film, and then probably talk about the possibilities of the third film and the new Knuckles series that's going to come. So basically what happens in the first movie is that it introduces Sonic, his character and everything, and shows a bit of his backstory of how he got to the Earth and stuff, which had the Echidna warriors attacking Longclaw, and Longclaw had Sonic escape at a young age to the planet Earth, because he was originally on Mobius, I believe. If I get that detail wrong, I'm sorry. I have not watched the first one in a while, but he goes to the Earth and stuff, where he hides out for 10 years. He's basically lived on the Earth for 10 years for not basically he stays there for 10 years without talking to anyone. No one knew about his existence until however long later, 10 years later. And he basically grew up on the Earth and stuff, and looked into all the people's lives on Green Hills, Montana. That's what it's called, Green Hills. Of course, being based off of Green Hills, from the main series, though it's set in Montana. And he kind of learns about these people, personalities, and he kind of knows Tom and Maddie and all that. Not personally yet, but he watches them and everything, and he likes it and everything. And then he goes noticed by people, because late at night, he goes to play, baseball or whatever on his own, and then he's upset, and he's I'm alone forever, and then he runs in, a square or circle or whatever on the field, causes a huge blast of his electricity, and causes a whole entire power outage to Green Hills, and, who knows where else, but, this goes noticed by everyone, who's now onto him, and he hides out in Tom's garage, which he's nicknamed Tom the Donut Lord, because Tom is a police officer and everything, and all that. So he hides out in Tom's garage, then Tom goes into his garage, and then basically Sonic tries to escape to the Mushroom Planet, where he won't be seen by anyone. Unfortunately, Tom comes into the garage, and then meow, and then both of them scream. Sonic gets tranked, and this causes him to pass out before he's able to transport to another planet. And his one ring he was holding, he drops it, which causes it to become a portal to San Francisco, where his other rings, his bag of rings, falls on top of a building in San Francisco. So basically they have to go on this mission to get his rings off the top of the building in San Francisco and take down Robotnik / Eggman. Now I say it like that because in like the entirety of the first movie, they call him Robotnik until like the very end, where like Sonic starts nicknaming him Eggman, and like in the entire like second movie, I assume that they call him Eggman or whatever. Maybe they use it interchangeably. I can't really remember. But yeah, they go on like this trip to go like get his rings and everything. There's all sorts of action, funny scenes, all that. And they go on like this chase scene, like with Robotnik chasing him or whatever, like to try to get Sonic's powers, which I guess is what like his goal is, to like get Sonic's powers and like take over, which is basically kind of like what the setup is for like all the Sonic games, since all the Sonic like games plot basically follow the same premise of the characters having to take down Dr. Eggman and all that. But yeah, so after taking down Robotnik, like he has like these bombs like that go off, and one of them goes off by Sonic, he goes unconscious, then Tom has to go to Maddie and all that to have him like revived or whatever, and then basically they go on the mission, she joins in to like get the rings and all that, to which Sonic nicknames Maddie Pretzel Lady as well. I think it's pretty funny how he like does like these nicknames and everything. I mean, I pretty much nicknamed Sonic the Blue Blur, like come on. But they head to San Francisco, get his rings, then have to take down Eggman and all that, and Sonic's able to take down Eggman at the very end and all that, and basically he starts a new life with Tom and Maddie, and that's basically the synopsis of like the first movie. Now, the second one definitely has a lot more structure to it and all that, and it basically has more of like a driven story, because mainly the thing that people complain about with the first movie is like its plot and everything. I mean, it's like has positive reviews, really good reviews, but like people complain like about the plot and all that, but like I don't have an issue, because it was just like it was just getting started to like have like the setup for what like the series could be and what it was supposed to be. And of course, with like the ending, we knew that this movie was going to get a sequel. Now, I should have told you disclaimer that there was going to be like spoilers for Sonic 1 and 2 if you didn't like watch them. I mean, they don't really matter anymore at this point, but just in case, like if you haven't like watched the second movie, spoilers, because like the second movie is like much more major with spoilers than like the first one. But like I should have just done that disclaimer like at the beginning. I apologize if I like didn't. I can't really remember if I did. But now let's talk about the second movie. So the second movie definitely takes in plots from the games. Now, if I get a few details wrong about like the games, like references and all that, I apologize, because like I said, like I don't know too much about Sonic games. Like I know about some of the plots of like some of them because I like watched gameplays of them on YouTube and stuff, and like I looked into them. Because like when I watch these movies, I literally looked into everything having to do with the series. And like it's pretty interesting and all that, like with its like stories and its games and all that. But if I get a few like details like wrong about like the games and stuff, I apologize. So talking about Sonic 2, it definitely has more of like an actual plot than the first, and actually introduces new characters, with Tails being introduced like at the very end of the first Sonic movie. I apologize if I'm stuttering. Where basically he was teased to appear in the sequel, which basically meant we were going to get a sequel to the second Sonic movie. Now, of course, this didn't surprise me, only because like by the time that I watched the first Sonic movie, I already knew that Tails was going to be in the second, because like of course the second came out in 2022. And this movie also introduces Knuckles, and it has to do with like the plot with the Master Emerald and everything, which has been like a thing with Knuckles in the series and all that. And basically, what happens in this movie is it basically kind of picks up where like the first one like left off and everything. And it has Eggman teaming up with Knuckles to go and try to find Sonic and all that, after Eggman was teleported to the Mushroom Planet, which I probably should have mentioned. Yeah, that's what happens. He gets teleported to the Mushroom Planet at the end of the first movie. And basically, he teams up with Knuckles and everything to go get Sonic. Then Sonic basically tries being a hero, Blue Justice as he likes to call it. And then the next day, after like he does like this whole entire like stopping a robbery or whatever, because there's this huge police chase and all that at the beginning, where he like has to stop like a bank robbery and all that, and of course he causes destruction to the entire city block, as stated by Tom, because the next day when him and Tom go fishing, he ends up having a talk with him saying like that's not what heroes do or whatever, and is like, you destroyed an entire city block. Like, I was a hero and all that. Like, Sonic likes to claim himself as a hero, even though, like, he doesn't, like, really do hero things, because, like, that's kind of where like the setup comes from, where like he has like his moment and everything. As stated, like that moment like depends on you or whatever. Like I can't really remember how that quote went, but like that's kind of like what like the setup kind of is with it, with Sonic and all that, because Sonic is basically considered full of himself in the series, like in both the games and the media, because there's been so many Sonic shows and even in the movies where he's full of himself and kind of focuses on himself, but there's always those moments in between, which is what I like. And I love like the bond in between him and Tom, especially where like Sonic's like, you're supposed to be like my friend, stop trying to be my dad, which I do kind of view Tom to be like a father figure to Sonic and everything, because like that's kind of what it is, because like it's like he becomes a family with Tom and Maddie at the end of the first one, so I do like the setup of that one. So then basically there's like this subplot where Rachel is about to get married or something, so basically Tom and Maddie head to Hawaii to like watch the marriage and all that, and then basically Sonic's home alone and everything, and one night while he's by himself alongside with Ozzy, the dog and everything, Eggman comes back and everything, and like he's brought Knuckles along. And this is also around the same time that we see like basically a redone shot of Tails first appearing on Earth, because that's what they did like at the end of like the first one and everything. So like that's kind of where it happens and all that. So basically Eggman has Knuckles take down Sonic and everything, and he says bits and pieces like in between saying like how like his tribe died trying to fight or whatever, which is what kind of sets up for what's to come like later in the film. Then Tails comes in, rescues Sonic, then they go on this chase scene again, and like they have to get away from like Eggman and Knuckles, because like Knuckles is like on Eggman's side like in this movie and everything, like for the majority of it. And then Sonic and Tails like team up and everything, and they talk about like how Knuckles is after the Master Emerald because it has like all these like sorts of powers and everything and all that, and basically they have to go and like try to find it and all that, which is like the setup for the movie. Like the main movie's fought them finding the Master Emerald. And I like the bond in between Sonic and Tails like it is in the games and stuff. Like Sonic 2 is based off of the Sonic 2 game from 1992, and it also takes bits and pieces from Sonic 3 and Knuckles, I assume, like with the whole entire like Master Emerald plot and like Knuckles and everything like that. Like I like looked into both those games. Like I don't know that many details about it, but I know those were like the said games of when they were introduced, with Tails being introduced in Sonic 2 and Knuckles being introduced, I assume, in Sonic 3, or was it Sonic and Knuckles? I'm not sure. Comment down below if you like know about it. But they have to go on like this mission to like find this compass to go find the Master Emerald and stuff, and there's a lot of good like brotherly moments with Sonic and Tails. I don't want to say there's a ton, like I kind of lied about that, because I think there's only a few, which is what people seem to take issue with Tails in the movie, because they complain how Tails does not get a lot of screen time. Though, like, I thought, like, this at first a little bit, because when I first watched this movie, I was kind of, like, geared more Tails being my favorite. But, like, the more I've watched this movie, like, the more viewings I've had on it, I view Knuckles as, like, more of my favorite, and I will get to him later, because there is so much that goes into him, because a lot of it does, like, connect with, like, the first one and all that. So, basically, Sonic and Tails have to go find the Master Emerald by following this, like, map, because, like, Sonic has, like, this map and everything, and it has, like, an emerald draw on it, and that's how it, like, sets up to them, going to find the Master Emerald. So they go to Siberia and everything, and they have, like, this dance fight type thing, like, in the cabin or whatever, which is, like, my favorite part of the movie, because they play Uptown Funk, and now I can't hear that song without thinking of that movie. Like, I bet I'd be tempted to dance like Sonic and Tails, though I think I would be kind of iffy like Tails, because, like, they, end up having to do this dance fight because, like, due to, Tails having a translator, it mistranslates to something offensive, like, to some of the people, like, and it was not intentional. Like, I mean, this is comedic stuff, it's not, like, bad stuff, I guarantee you, but, like, they have, like, this dance fight so they can, like, escape and not get thrown into the fire or whatever, and, they try doing, like, this one dance or something, like Siberian dance, I believe. And then, Tails starts to get nervous. And then Sonic's like, new DJ coming. They play Uptown Funk. They, like, dance. I can't dance. And then they get the map back and everything. And I love, like, the brotherly moment afterwards where Tails talks about how, like, in his village, like, he was made fun of his two tails, and, like, no one, like, really talked to him and didn't have many friends, and views Sonic as a true friend. And one of the cutest moments in the movie is where Tails goes to sleep, and then Sonic goes to sleep next to him, and he has this blanket and stuff, and then Tails uses two tails as a blanket. They look absolutely fluffy and adorable. Then the next day they continue their mission and everything, and there's also, like, alongside with the Knuckles plot of him teaming up with Eggman again, and also with Agent Stone and everything. I'm trying to go back and forth in, like, this plot, but it's, like, so difficult for me, so I apologize. So he teams up with them and continues to try to go after Sonic and Tails and all that. Like, I'm sorry if this description of this movie is, like, long, but, like, I kind of have to do this so that, like, it's kind of set up for it. But, yeah, with that, they go after Sonic and Tails, like, it's the next day, and, like, they find the compass. Sonic and Tails find the compass. Then, basically, Eggman and Knuckles find them. They go after him. They go on this chase. Then, Eggman gets the compass. Then, Sonic and Knuckles end up fighting again, which is a reoccurring thing in the movie. It's inevitable. But at that point, we get to learn a lot more with, like, Knuckles' like origin story and everything, where he talks about, like, how his tribe was, like, after the Master Emerald, which is what the setup was, because they were trying to, like, get the Master Emerald and everything, like, two different tribes and all that, including with Longclaw and all that, and how the last of the Echidna warriors were, like, after it, and that how when Knuckles was young, he was going to join the fight, but his father stopped him, saying that his moment, like, for his tribe would come, but that was not the moment, and how those were the last words that were said to him, and he never saw the rest of his tribe ever again, assuming that they died, because they basically did die fighting for it, and how he lost everything. Same thing how with Sonic lost Longclaw in, like, the film, I'm assuming, because I basically interpret that Longclaw has died or something, like, unless they're gonna, like, do some sort of twist or whatever, but, like, yeah, both of them connect with each other because they both had hard pasts, and basically, they continue to, like, go on, like, this whole entire chase or whatever, and all that, and basically, I assume that, Knuckles is still teamed up with Eggman and everything, and Sonic and Tails escape. There's this huge avalanche and stuff, and they have to make it back to Hawaii and everything, and, basically, this is the point where, like, Tom finds everything out, and then he throws this one ring to, like, have a portal to Hawaii, and then all the snow, like, spills out. Now, it should go mention that there's also, like, the subplot, like, with Rachel and everything, which is so funny and everything that I want to talk about. So basically, this is where, Rachel and Randall get married and all that, and how, like, it's kind of, like, funny. It's mainly, like, made for, like, the more funnier moments of the movie, because, like, the plot kind of takes away from the action and everything, but once that plot's out of the way, it goes back into the action. Like, the funny part is, like, Tom gets a call, and then it plays, like, the Green Hill something, the da-na-na-na-na-na-na. I think that's how it goes. Maybe I should grab my phone so I can play it for you guys. Okay, I found it. Sorry if the sound on this is not going to be the best, but this is what plays. And then Tom's like, oh, sorry, my phone's going off, and Rachel gives him, like, this dirty look, because Rachel does not like Tom at all, not even in the first movie. Like, she, like, gets, like, so annoyed with him or whatever, and then, basically, Tom turns his phone off until... So help me, Thomas! Like, that is so funny. Like, the first time I watched that, like, I just thought it was, like, so funny or whatever. And, like, basically, Tom has to take the call since it's an emergency and everything. Sonic tells him to get one of the rings, and then it appears that he accidentally mixed up the rings, and, like, the one that they have is the one that, Randall's given to Rachel, and he's like, I'm gonna need that ring for a moment. And then, like, Rachel's like, don't listen to him. Tom grabs the ring, then throws it, and of course that's where, like, the portal opens, and all the snow spills out, and, like, this is where, like, all of them, like, discover, like, all the stuff happening and everything. And, like, Tom's like, you're in so much trouble. And then Maddie's like, you talk. And then Sonic's like, Robotnik's back, and he's, like, chasing us and everything. And, like, he's after the Master Emerald or whatever. and then like Tails is knocked unconscious and everything and all that, like from the avalanche and stuff, or like from all that stuff like previously. So Tails is unconscious and Sonic's like, you gotta wake up, and he was carrying him like snowboarding down the hill during the avalanche. And then, funny part, Rachel's like, oh lord, there are two of them now. Like, I watch reaction videos of like people like watching this movie and people were laughing about it. Now this is the point where everything gets so funny with this like scene and all that. So basically the government, which they're referred to as gun, which is kind of like what the setup is going to probably be for the next one, but like they ended up doing like this Operation Catfish, saying that the whole entire wedding was a setup. Rachel gets ticked off at Randall and she goes on a rampage yelling everything, and like it's like, is he an agent? Is she an agent? Like, and she's like very upset and everything. Like, it's so funny and everything. Like, I think the funniest part of like this entire movie is just like the subplot and having to do with like Rachel altogether, because she was like funny in the first one, like, this is my house, and like in the second one, like she just goes all out. Like, the person who played her just did such a great job and everything. Like, all the actors and stuff do such a great job in this movie and like all that. So basically, Sonic and Tails get taken away in cages. Sonic's tased. They have to like go out and everything, and then Tom tries going after him, but he's taken as well. And basically, both Maddie and Rachel have to like team up to try to get Sonic and all on back, and then Rachel confronting Randall over what he did. It's so funny. Like, Rachel's so funny. Like, and you guys want to tell me what the hell is going on here? Like, that's just so funny. Like, she just yells like all out and everything, and then basically they use like Tails' like little like gadgets or whatever, like to like take down all the people, all like the agents and all that. And like yeah, that's what ends up like happening and all that. And basically Maddie's able to like meet back up like with Tom and rescue like Sonic and all, like, and then Rachel's able to confront Randall and all that, and both like eventually both of them like forgave each other, like make it up and all that, and it's still good in the end and stuff. And then this is where the movie's plot continues. Like, this is where all the action goes back, because like if you catch back up on like once you get that plot out of the way, you get back into the action, which is what people also complain about with this movie. But like they complain of how like the movie went on for way longer than it should have, which it kind of did, but that kind of wasn't really in their control because they kind of had to like come up with another plot for it. But like there's two separate plots. I mean, the other, like the whole entire wedding subplot gets like resolved in like when there's like I think about an hour or so left of the movie, like, or a half hour or something. But like the second movie's much longer. It's like 2 hours long. Like, it's much longer than the first. But like we get back into the action with the stuff with Eggman and Knuckles finding the temple to the Master Emerald and all that. And then basically Sonic has to come up with a plan to like get it and all that. And he's like, my moment came and I blew it. And how like Tom's like, no, we're gonna do this together. And Sonic's like, no, I already went through enough risk. And how he nearly got Tails killed. And like that's why he goes on his own and everything, saying that his moment came and then he blew it. And like all that. Like, this movie could have emotional moments and all that. So basically he goes to the temple to try to get the Master Emerald. Then basically Eggman betrays Knuckles, which was kind of inevitable and kind of predictable at the same time. But like before then, there's this whole entire fight in between Sonic and Knuckles once again. And Knuckles is like, why won't you sit still and die? Knuckles is also kind of funny in this movie at points. So basically there's this whole betrayal. Eggman gets the Master Emerald, gets the power and everything. The whole entire temple floods, and Sonic can't swim. Everybody probably knows that from like the series and all that. So basically, him and Knuckles get pushed down under, and Knuckles gets pushed down under, ends up going unconscious and everything because there's weight on top of him. Sonic tries like lifting like the pillar or something off of him, and then that like allows time for like Knuckles to go back up to the surface. But then Sonic like nearly falls unconscious. Like, he falls unconscious in the water. Then Knuckles goes to save him, and then they have a little bit of talk about like how being a hero is not like to like how like being a hero is not about yourself but about others and everything. And basically It's this really good moment in between the two and everything. And, like, basically, Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails, the three of them, go to team up to take down Eggman, who goes back to Green Hills and everything, like, with his new powers, where he turns into Sinister 3.0. Like, that's, like, the easiest way I can do it. Eggman's also funny in this movie. Jim Carrey does such a great job with his performance. Like, he just goes all out with it. Hopefully he'll return in the third one if he decides not to retire. But, anyways, they get to, Green Hills again, where basically Eggman, like, builds the giant Death Egg robot. They have to take it down, and they work together as a team and all that. And basically, they get the Master Emerald, but then it's also at, like, their, like, Sonic's, like, at his weakest point at that move, in the movie. Like, that's, like, the weakest point, like, how he's, like, weak and everything, like, towards the end and all that. He's like, I gotta get to it and everything, and then Tom and Maddie go grab him because, like, Sonic just looks terrible and everything. He looks so weak in that scene. And how he tries to get, like, the Master Emerald to work, and then it doesn't. It, like, just breaks or whatever. And then, basically, Tom and Maddie are like, we're not going anywhere. We're a family and everything. And how, basically, the Death Egg robot was about to squash them. Like, literally, step on them. Like, squash them. Like, that's the easiest way I could say it. Because, like, they tried taking down the robot and everything before, but it always keeps getting back up. So, there's this huge, no! Like, it seems that way, but then, of course, what people would consider the best moment, Super Sonic comes up. And basically, Super Sonic is able to take down Eggman and basically take him down and everything, and, like, everything basically gets resolved at that point. And he turns into Super Sonic, gets a chili dog, his chili dogs. And basically, him, Tails, and Knuckles agree to protect the Master Emerald. And that's the whole movie. I went on for way longer than I probably should have talking about that. Sorry if it was super long and, like, how this video is dragging on, but I kind of needed to talk about all the aspects of this movie than I did with the last, because the last, like, the first one, like, I didn't have much to talk about. The second one has so many details I feel like I couldn't skip. So, they basically protect, like, the Master Emerald at the end of the movie, and then there's this really good scene where, they play baseball, and Sonic's not alone this time. Like, Tails is there, Knuckles is there, Tom and Maddie are there, Ozzy's there. Like, they're all just, like, one big family and everything, and how Knuckles is hilarious at that point, because he's like, I don't understand how I'm supposed to do this. Like, he does not understand really anything having to do with the Earth, given, like, this moment. I just want to do this. Where, like, Eggman's like, if you don't know how to floss, you'll be lost without me. And then Knuckles like, I understand nothing of what you just said. I just wanted to do that, like, where Knuckles doesn't understand, like, the things on Earth and everything, and doesn't understand the concept of baseball, but then he does it anyways, and, like, basically, he punches the baseball with his glove, and he's like, yes, victory is mine, and it's just so funny and everything, and he's like, I am having the fun! Like, that is probably the most iconic line from him in the entire movie. Does it have any grapes? No, not usually, when they're talking about ice cream. And people say it's a reference to how, like, Knuckles likes grapes because he's an echidna. And basically, like, that's the whole movie and everything. Now, of course, we got the ending of the movie, where basically Gunn is, like, trying to, like, clean up the mess and everything from what, like, Eggman has destroyed and all that. This is also another post-credit scene where everything's gonna finally come together, and I finally get to talk about the subject of this video. My gosh. They're trying to clean up and everything, and they're like, we're still searching, sir. Like, no one could have survived that fall, because it's kind of, like, implied that Eggman died, but I have a theory he's probably gonna come back. And, basically, they're like, no one could have survived that fall. We're still searching, sir. And apparently, one of those agents is Agent Stone. I have a theory that he actually secretly works for Gunn. Like, I already got ahead of myself with it, but I have a theory about that. And then one of them's like, sir, there's something else. While we were wiping Robotnik off our database, we found something. A file buried deep on our system and dating back to over 50 years. Now, when you hear me say 50 years, you probably know who I'm talking about. And they're like, coordinates. Coordinates? To what? And how, like, someone worked hard to, like, keep this a secret? Project Shadow. Shadow the freaking Hedgehog appears at the end of the second movie. And I was not surprised at that at all, because spoilers were getting posted everywhere on YouTube at that point. Because the only thing I knew about this movie was the end. And, like, I didn't tell, like, my brother, who's, like, much younger than me. Yes, I have a younger brother. about the ending, but he kind of figured it out at the end because he kind of knew a little bit more about Sonic than me. But like when I watched the reactions to the scene online, everyone's like, "Yo, all right, let's go!" Which makes me regret not going to see Sonic 2 in theaters, because even if I didn't know who Shadow the Hedgehog was, I would have loved to be in the environment where everyone was screaming his freaking name and like cheering, clapping, going, "Whoa!" Because it wasn't just kids doing that. Adults also ended up doing it, because like the adults are the lifelong fans who were gamers when they were kids who grew up with these games. So that's why, like, a lot of, like, the audience mainly comes from, like, adults. Like, both kids and adults do like these movies, but mainly adults are able to catch on to these references, especially if they're involved in the Sonic fandom. Like, yeah. So, that confirms we get Sonic 3, 2024. Now, finally to get into the subject of, this, and I very much regret not watching the second movie in theaters. Like, I really wanted to do it so badly. But guess what? I'll watch the third one in theaters. I think I'll watch the third one in theaters. And I'm going to be talking about some of my predictions for it. Now, I don't have a whole entire category for this, so I'm kind of going to be jumping back and forth from what I saw on the internet and what I ended up kind of, like, thinking of to myself, because a lot of the things are going to be, like, connected with each other, and a lot of people probably share the same thoughts about this movie as I do. So, with Sonic 3, people have a lot of predictions for it. Like, they have, like, predictions of what could be in the movie, what music they'll add, like, the characters, etc. Because people are, like, saying, oh, maybe this character will be in it, or this and that. Like, we know Shadow's going to be into it, but they're probably going to add another character in there and everything. And, like, people have different theories of which character could appear. Like, there's so many different theories of what they want in the movie, and, like, lots of different opinions, but most of them are shared, like, the exact, like, same and everything. So, I'm basically going to be talking about that. So, first things first. People are asking, what will the plot be about Sonic 3? And basically, what the people behind this movie said, like, they ended up saying that they're planning on, like, taking inspiration from Sonic Adventure 2. Now, I've played Sonic Adventure 2. My brother and I have played the entire game. We completed the entire game, like, about, like, 3 months ago, back in June. And, like, I've had the game for about a year and everything. Like, we have the PS3 digital download version of it, so that's how we were able to play it. And I only found about the existence of that game through YouTube. So that's how I, like, know a lot about, like, Sonic, mainly through YouTube videos and all that. But they're planning on taking the plot from Sonic Adventure 2 and putting it into the movie. Now, I don't know if they're going to directly follow the storyline in it, because the thing with the Sonic movies, like, each one of the Sonic movies' plot basically has, like, an original, like, story to it. Because, like, with the first movie, they don't, like, take a plot from any of the Sonic games. The second movie, they kind of take directions from, like I said, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and Sonic 3 and Knuckles. They're not direct adaptations of either, but they take enough pieces of it to create one story, which is what I think they'll end up doing. That is that I kind of think they'll have, like, an original plot in, like, the third movie, but also take the bits and pieces from Sonic Adventure 2. But, like, the thing is with it, if they're basing it off of this, it's kind of impossible to not include, like, every single thing ever from this game, because there is so much that goes into Adventure 2. Like, the lifelong fans would know about this, and if you looked into everything having to do with it, you would probably know. Another thing is how they're going to handle Shadow's character. Now, people are saying that this movie's gonna be dark, mainly because they view the subject matter in Shadow's story to be dark, his backstory and everything, which I really hope they do include his backstory. Like, his backstory is definitely, like, something that should be put in a film, but I don't know if they're gonna downplay it, or if they're going to, like, follow it like they did in the game. Like, I don't know. Because I really want them to include his backstory with Maria, because, like, I feel like it would, like, work so well with his character in the movie. Like, it was a huge part of his character back when Adventure 2 came out, and, like, how they were referencing, like, the events of it in, like, a few games and everything. They don't really reference it that much anymore, but people still do talk about it to this day. And I think they're going to include it, but at the same time, I'm not sure, because, like, for those who don't really know, I'm just going to briefly summarize this, because I played the game and looked into it. So basically, Shadow was created 50 years ago by Gerald Robotnik, and basically him and Maria grew up on the space colony Ark and everything, and how the government basically grew suspicious of Project Shadow and decided to shut everything down, causing basically all of them to go on the run. Like, Gerald's on the run, Shadow runs away with Maria trying to escape, and basically Maria and Shadow are trying to escape. Unfortunately, Maria is not able to because she ends up getting shot and loses her life in the process. Now, this actually doesn't, like, get, like, implied in Adventure 2. It does in the Japanese version, because we hear a psh with, Shadow screaming Maria's name. But this is better implied in the, one spin-off series game, Shadow the Hedgehog, where they dive more into his story and everything. And, like, it doesn't get gruesome, I can guarantee you. It just goes to show, like, one of the gun soldiers doing, like, the blast and the screen fades to white, and that's how they imply it. But, like, I don't know if they're going to include that, because people said if they did include his story with Maria, and if they're going to, like, have, like, Maria's death, they're probably going to boost the rating of the movie to PG-13. I don't think that's the case, and, like, I hope they don't remove the idea of that altogether. I mean, they don't have to go to the point of it making it gruesome, but they just imply it in, like, a certain way. Like, they could imply it to imply that, like, she ended up dying or something, and sayonara, Shadow the Hedgehog. Like, that would be such an important aspect of Shadow in that movie. Like, it would be so well put in. And it'd be a huge part of his character, too. And people also say how if they include that, people are theorizing how, like, the movie's going to be emotional and everything, and how, like, the characters might get emotional. I don't think that the characters will get emotional much at all. Like, I mean, that's what I'm thinking of what people might say. But, like, at the same time, Sega doesn't show their characters with emotion because of their mandates. So I highly doubt that they're going to have, like, Shadow get very emotional. But, like, it would be really good to see it because it could show, like, what he was going through and everything. Like, his past and all that. Like, give the guy a break. But, like, honestly, it would just be really good to include in a story and, like, include it in the plot and everything, because it'd be very important to have. Another thing people are theorizing are... Alright, I apologize for me, like, changing the environment, because my mom came home and I didn't want to be interrupted, so that's why I kind of came back to, like, my room or whatever. But, another thing that people are asking about is whether, Jim Carrey will be involved in this movie, because at the time when the second movie came out, he was considering retiring unless a script was written for him to return. If a good enough script was written, he would return to doing acting and stuff. He was considering retiring, which I'm hoping he doesn't. I hope he, like, comes back, like, one more time. But if that's, like, the case, people are going to be like, one more time, depending on how much they expand this franchise. Now, I'm not saying that they would expand all these Sonic movies until every last character was introduced, because that would just be considered filler. But, like, I really hope that Jim Carrey returns in this. Otherwise, they're going to have to introduce, like, a new, like, villain or whatever. I mean, Shadow might be the villain of this movie, but... Sorry, I got interrupted again. Had to do something. But I think maybe Shadow will kind of be introduced as, like, the villain of this movie, because he was considered kind of like a villain in Adventure 2, though he was considered more of a rival to Sonic, being a faker. Imagine if they put a faker reference in the movie. But I think he'll be introduced to, like, teaming up with Eggman or something. And then it will kind of have him, like, have to, like, team up with Sonic and stuff towards the end. And all that, which is what I think is going to happen. Another thing people are kind of thinking about, what music will be included. So, during a conference where people would ask, like, the people behind this movie of what could be in the film, people were asking whether Live and Learn would be played at the climax of the film. Now, Live and Learn is considered one of the best songs in the Sonic series. True fans love Live and Learn, and I might as well just play some of the song in case you don't know. But Live and Learn is a really good song, and I've listened to it both off of YouTube and while playing Adventure 2. This is the song. I could have done a better job, like, conveying my emotions there. But, yeah, that's Live and Learn. So people were asking whether Live and Learn would be played at the climax of the film because that song is used in the climax of the game in the last boss fight of the game. And you want to know what they ended up responding? They ended up responding that there was a decent chance of it occurring. Meaning that there's the possibility of them putting it in the film, but they're not 100% sure. I don't have high hopes for them to put Live and Learn at the end, only because, like, I'm not saying they're not going to, but I don't want to get my hopes up to the point where I'll get, like, overly disappointed if they don't. Because, like, the problem I have with, like, having high expectations for movies is them not turning out the way that I want them to, which is why I don't want to get too much hype about this movie. I mean, I'm looking forward to this movie in 2024, but I just don't want to get too excited to the point where, like, the movie ends up being bad and I don't end up liking it, especially because I want this movie to be good, and I think it will be good. Like, I had low expectations with 1 and 2, and I ended up liking them. I don't want to have low expectations just to like something, but as for the whole entire case with Live and Learn, they said there's a decent chance of them putting it in the film, and that they were aware of the fan support of Crush 40s, which is, like the people who do like Sonic music, and they were probably talking about it and everything, and they were talking about what could be in the film, what should be in the film, etc. And we don't really know too much about it really now, and it's been like a year. I mean, the movie has started filming. Like, they started filming early in September, like this month at the time I'm recording this, because apparently with like the strikes going on or something in London, they decided they were going to do filming without actors first, and then do it with actors, which we're not sure when that's gonna happen, but there is a few behind the scenes leaks and everything of it. Like, I've seen a few leaks and everything. I don't want to get too involved with like looking at the leaks and everything because it might spoil everything for me, but we know that they did start filming, and they're probably going to finish within like the next year or something, depending on like when they're going to be able to have actors on there for filming, depending on like what the whole entire status with the strikes and everything or whatever. Like, I know nothing about it, but I just ended up like seeing that there were strikes going on and they were going to do filming without actors first. But yeah, that basically wraps up me talking about what I think should be in Sonic the Hedgehog 3. I apologize that this video is super long, but I basically kind of had to get into depth with like what like the movies were about and everything before I could do this. But like, yeah, we haven't even really gotten like information about the Knuckles series yet, which should be coming like later this year. Like, it's been like a year now since then, and like they're not probably going to put it out until like later or probably earlier in 2024. Because I don't think they're going to premiere that show on Paramount Plus until late 2023, early 2024. Because, like, in April, like, they announced, like, the show started production. Because in 2022, around the time that 2 came out, they confirmed that a third Sonic movie would be made, along with the Knuckles TV series, or streaming series, because it's off of Paramount Plus. But I didn't hear, like, any details regarding the Knuckles series for, like, a year. And I was like, when are we going to hear about this? Because they said it was supposed to be released in 2023 and stuff. And, like, people are like, oh, the show got canceled or something. And that's not the case. Because in April of 2023, like, the month that marked the first, like, year that Sonic 2 came out, like, a year since that movie came out, on Facebook, I saw that the show started production and everything. Like, they announced that the show started production. And I believe that they said that they finished filming in, like, June or whatever. Like, I assume, like, I'm not sure how many episodes they're going to have in the series, but it mainly has to do, like, with, like, Knuckles, like, training Wade to be, like, a warrior or something, because, like, Wade is, like, this one-off character who's kind of, like, there mainly, like, for funny moments, everything in the movie. I mean, I barely even talked about him, but there wasn't really a whole lot to talk about with him, but that's mainly what, like, the series is going to be about, and how they said that there will be Easter eggs to kind of set up the third movie, because this is kind of, like, treated as a transition from Sonic 2 to the Knuckles series, and then Sonic 3, which I'm pretty sure they're maybe going to include details that could make you, like, be like, oh, that sets up for the third movie. Like, I want something like that, because then I could kind of put the pieces together for what it could set up, and it would be really cool to see. So that basically wraps up me talking about the possibilities for the Knuckles series and Sonic 3 movie. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sorry that this is a super long video, but comment down below what you think will, like, be in Sonic 3, what your ideas are. So that basically wraps up my video. See you next time.